Hey everyone, welcome back again to another React tutorial, and in this session we will discuss about the entire process of routing in React. Initially, we will start with the basic process of routing where we try to navigate between screens within your React project. Then we will discuss about process of push and replace in React navigation. Then moving forward, we will also discuss about how to pass data between screens during navigation. And down the line, we will also discuss about the process of nested routing in React navigation. And also, we will discuss about the process of handling errors during navigation. And moving along, we will look into the process of lazy loading in React navigation. And finally, we will discuss about the process of defining a routes as an object and as a JXS component. So these are the basic steps in which this video is being divided into. Hope you got a better understanding of what we are about to discuss in this video. With this idea and without any further ado, let's get started. Well, here we have a starter React project up and ready. And to perform any routing within your React project, you will get the help of React Router DOM. And this React Router DOM is nothing but a popular client-side routing library which can be used for performing any navigation within your React project. So first, let's try to install React Router DOM package within our project. And the command is npm install react-router-dom. Well, now we have successfully installed the React Router DOM package within our project. And here inside our app.txs file, we have nothing but a simple text data called app. And the same is being rendered in the UI screen. Now let's create two different pages called the home page and about page and try to perform navigation between them. And for doing so, inside the source folder, let's try to create a folder called presentations. And inside which we have the folder called screens. And inside screens, we have two folders, one for about page and another for home page. And inside the about folder, we have the about.txs file. Just the same way, inside the home folder, let's create home view.txs file. Now we have two individual pages, one for about page and another for the home page. Alright. And to perform navigation, let's create another folder called routes inside this presentation folder. And inside this route, we have the generated routes.txs file. And here inside this generated routes file is where we will list down all the paths which will be used for navigation within our React project. So now let's try to create individual path for routing between about page and the home page. And to perform routing, we will get the help of create browser router, which is available from the React Router DOM package. And these arguments are in the form of objects. The first property of this object is going to be the path. And I'm going to specify the path as single forward slash, which means that it is going to the base path or the root path which will render the landing page. Followed by the path, the second property which we have is the element. And this element is going to accept a JXS component. And here for the root path, the JXS component, what we are going to render is the home page. So let's try to give home page here. And also if you take a look into this create browser router, you see that it accepts two arguments. The first is going to be the route object, which is of type array. And if you take a look into that, you see it accepts either index routing object or non-index routing object. And in both of these, you have a path which is of type string and an element which is of type React node. Alright, so that is the same which we have defined in the generated routes. And just the same way, we can create another path called /about, which will take us to the about page. Now we have listed down individual path for home page and the About page, where the home page is going to be the default landing page for our React project. Alright, with this we have created individual pages for About page and the home page, and we have also listed the path for navigation between the home page and the About page. But if you take a look into the main.txt file, which is the entry point of a React project, it renders the app component, and here inside this app component, you have a single text data stating app. Now what we need to do is, we need to tell React to render home page or the About page based upon the path which we have defined over here inside the generated routes file. How do we do that? So it's basically very simple. All we need to do is, we need to make use of the route provider, which is again available in the React Router DOM package. And this route provider is going to accept a router, and this router we can pass in the router which we have defined in the generated routes. So this is what we have passed over to this route provider. And by doing so, whenever the app gets executed, inside the main we have the app component, and inside the app component we specify the route provider with the route which we have listed down here inside the generated routes file. And the home page is going to be the default landing page. And whenever the user tries to navigate with /about, it takes us to the About page. So with this, we have now integrated how to navigate between home page and the About page. So let's run this project and see how it works. And if you see that, the default landing page is going to be the home page. In this URL, if I try to navigate to About, it renders the About page. And if you navigate back, it is going to take you to the home page. And whenever you try to update this URL with /about, it is going to take us to the About page. Right? So with this, we have covered the basic process of routing in our React project. Now with this, we are able to navigate between home page and the About page, but only by updating the URL, which may not be the case while working with real-time applications. So what we can do is, we can create individual buttons in home page and the About page, and upon clicking those buttons, we can navigate to those corresponding pages. So let's try to create a button inside the home and About page and try navigating based upon the button clicks. Here inside the home page, then we create a button, and upon clicking this button, navigate to About page. And to perform navigation, we will get the help of use navigate hook available in React. So let's create a constant called navigate, which gets the help of use navigate hook available in React. Now with the help of this navigate, we will be able to navigate between pages. All we need to do is, we just simply need to pass the path to which we need to navigate. Say for example, here it is the home page, and we are going to create a button inside this home page, which when clicked should take us to the About page. So let me give /about. Similarly, we can copy this code, head over to the About page, and try to create a button with the same functionality, but instead of navigating to About page, we can navigate to the initial landing page. We can use the same use navigate hook here inside this About component. Alright, here inside the home page, we have a navigate to About page button, and upon clicking them, you see it takes us to the About page. Similarly, we have a button in the About page, which when click is going to take us to the initial landing page, which is the home page component. Now by doing so, we don't need to update the path in the URL. Rather, we are able to navigate between pages based upon the button press event. Well, so far now we have discussed about how to perform basic navigation within screens in your React project. Now let's try to extend this a bit forward, where we will explain about the process of push and replace in React navigations. And what we have here is a simple example to demonstrate the same. Here we have a login form, and upon successful login, it takes us to the dashboard page. Here we have just updated our code, and here inside the screens folder, we have replaced the home page and the About page with the login and the dashboard page. And upon successful login, it navigates to the dashboard page. Alright, and also inside the generated routes, we have updated the path, where the initial route points to the login page, and the /dashboard will take us to the dashboard page. Alright, And inside the dashboard page, we have nothing but simple text data stating dashboard. Like so, inside the login page, we are going to have a simple login form. And this login form is going to accept two user inputs, one for the username and another for password. And also we have a button which when click is going to take us or navigate us to the /dashboard page. So this is going to be the same scenario which we have discussed earlier. Instead of just navigating to the home page, in this case we have navigated to the dashboard page upon the login button press event. So let's save this and try running this app. Let me give sample data for username and password. And upon login button press, it takes us to the dashboard page. So it seems to be working perfectly fine. But once I have landed on the dashboard page, if I try to press this back arrow button right in my browser, it again takes me back to the login page, which is not an intended action. So I don't want my user to go back to the login page once they have successfully completed the login process. So how do we prevent our user from getting to this login page when they try to press this back arrow button in your browser? And that is where comes the process of replacement in React routing. And before getting into the solution, first we need to understand how this React navigation works. Well, in React, for navigation, we basically go for using stack algorithm. Whenever we try to navigate between pages, it tries to push those particular path inside the navigation stack. So whenever we try to navigate between pages, it tries to push them one after the other inside the navigation stack. Well, you know that the stack algorithm is based upon the last in first out option. And in that case, once a user has landed on the dashboard page, if they try to navigate back, what it does is, it tries to pop this dashboard which has been earlier pushed inside the navigation stack. Once it is deleted, what we are left over is the default route, which will render the login page. So whenever we try to navigate back from the dashboard page, this /dashboard path gets deleted from the navigation stack, and since this is the only route what we have in the navigation stack as of now, it tries to render the login page. In this case, to get with the solution, instead of pushing this /dashboard inside the navigation stack, all we need to do is, upon successful login from the login page, we need to replace this path with this /dashboard. So how do we do that? It's basically very simple while working with navigations in React. Well, here inside the login form, upon the button press event, instead of simply pushing this /dashboard inside the navigation stack, we need to pass an additional flag variable called replace. By default, this replace is set as false, which means that it tries to push those paths inside the navigation stack. But this time, whenever you try to navigate to the dashboard page, I don't want this to be pushed inside the stack. Rather, I want this path to be replaced with the navigation stack. Now by doing so, instead of again pushing the second stack, it replaces that with the initial stack, which is the root path. Now after doing this, let's see how it works. Now after landing into the dashboard page, if I try to press this back arrow button from my browser, you see that now it is not taking us back to the login page. Now we have entirely replaced this navigation stack with /dashboard, and upon navigating back, there is no navigation path left in the navigation stack. That is the reason we are getting this home page of your browser. So this might be very useful while working with the authentication kinds of screen in your React projects. Well, so far we have discussed about the basic process of routing within pages in your React project. But let's discuss about how to pass data from one page to another during React navigation. And the process is going to be very simple. So here inside the generated routes file, we try to simply pass the path to perform navigation. So in order to pass any data during navigation, we just need to add another attribute right after this path. And here in this case, what I need is, whenever user tries to log in and move to the dashboard page, I need to render the corresponding username what the user has typed in the login page. So the change is going to be, instead of just passing /dashboard, I just need to pass the username as well. The syntax is going to be colon followed by the props. Here in this case, it is going to be the username. And right inside the login form, upon the button press event, instead of just simply calling /dashboard, I need to get the data from the username input field, and that we can get with the help of onFinish callback. So this is basically the AND design syntax. You can use your own custom logic to get the data of this username input field. Here in this case, since I am using AND design and Tailwind CSS for this form, I have made use of the onFinish callback. And inside this, we can make use of the dot operator and get that particular props, which is the username. So with this, we have defined the syntax inside the generated routes and also pass the particular value during navigation. And the final change is, we just need to render that particular username inside this dashboard page. Here inside this dashboard page, in order to render the particular component, you will get the help of useParams, which is again available in the React Router DOM package. So let's try to create the useParams. Right after the dashboard page text, what I need to do is, we can simply make use of the params followed by the username, since that is the property which we have passed during the process of navigation. So I have used params.username. With the help of the dot operator, I will be able to access the username which is passed in the URL. So in this case, if I try to log in, you see once I click this login button, I am able to get the particular username which was typed in the username input field. And also if you inspect this URL, the same value is passed in the URL as well. So that is how we are able to get that particular value right inside this dashboard page. So hope you understood how we will be able to pass data between screens during navigation. And so for now, we are able to navigate between screens in a linear fashion. Now let's look into how to perform nested navigation in React. Here we have updated the code where we have 4 different pages, one for About page, Dashboard page, third is going to be the Home, and finally we have the Settings page, right? And also if you take a look into the generated routes, I have just included Home page, About page and the Settings page. And if you take a look into this home page, it is nothing but a simple div tag with a particular text value for the home page. Similarly, if it is about, it is going to enter the about text, and inside the settings, we have the settings text. Alright, and upon the corresponding navigation, it is going to render that particular JXS component. And the initial route is going to render the dashboard page. Here inside the dashboard page, I have made use of a simple navigation bar where we have 3 menus, which when click is going to take us to those corresponding pages. Here if it is home page, it is going to navigate us to the home page. Similarly for settings page and the about page. So let's take a look into the UI, and if you see here, we have a basic navigation bar, and upon clicking this home page, it takes us to the home page. Similarly, if I click the settings page, it takes me to the settings page, and if I click the about, it takes me to the about page. Alright, so this is the basic navigation which we have discussed so far. We haven't added any new feature here. We have just simply made use of the navigate method and performed basic navigation based upon the path which we provide. So the only change what we need here is, as soon as you click this home page or the about page or the settings page, you see this navigation bar get disappeared. I want them to be persistent across home page, settings page and the about page. So how do we do that? That is where comes the process of nested routing. And the process of performing nested routing is very simple in React navigation. And if you take a look into the generated routes file, you see that we have defined the individual path for home page, about page and the settings page. Though we are navigating from the dashboard page to the home page or the about page or the settings page, each corresponds to individual pages. So that is the reason we are not getting this navigation bar being persistent across these 3 pages. And to make that happen, what we need to do is, we just update the hierarchy where this dashboard page which contains the nav bar should be the parent component, and for that particular parent, the home, settings and the about page should be the child components. And the only updation what we need to do is, we need to create another property called the children, which is going to accept an array of router objects. You can just simply move this corresponding path inside this children property. Now by doing so, what we are telling React is that dashboard page which contains the navigation bar is going to be the parent component, and the home, settings and about page are going to be the child components of this particular dashboard page. And the navigation home about settings is going to happen internally within this dashboard page. So this is the basic change which we need to do inside the generated routes file. And inside this dashboard page, though we are performing navigation to those particular pages, we want this nav bar to be persistent. And to do so, we need to get the help of the outlet component, which will render the child component right inside this parent component. And in this case, the parent is going to be the dashboard page, which contains the nav bar. So right after the nav bar, I just need to render the particular child components, which may be either home page, settings page, or the about page. Now by doing so, the initial landing page is going to render navigation bar alone, and upon clicking home page, settings page, or the about page, it tries to render those particular child components right below the navigation bar. So the only change which is needed is we need to update the generated routes by specifying those route objects as a child component of the parent route. Similarly, inside the parent route, you just need to specify the outlet to render those particular child component right inside the parent component. In this case, it can be either home page, settings page, or the about page. So we have just specified the outlet right below the navigation bar. You can go for providing your custom styling by updating the layouts either to align them vertically or horizontally or create a side menu, so on and so forth. This is the basic process of creating nested routing in React. Well, so far now we are able to navigate between the defined path which were listed down here inside this generated routes file. Right? So if you head over to the settings page or the about page, or the path, what we see in the URL is going to be the defined one which are listed in the coding side. Suppose what if the user tries to navigate to some URL which doesn't exist at all. So as you can see here, as I'm navigating to some invalid routing path, in the development mode, it gives us the information to handle this error either by using the error boundary or the error element. In this case, you can go for using the error element. And that is yet another property which is available in Create Browser Router. And this error element is going to accept a React node. You can simply give any error message you want. And this time, if you refresh this page, where the URL is going to be the invalid one, you get that particular data being rendered in the UI screen. But you can also take it a bit forward, where we can create our custom UI for handling this error routing. For doing so, inside the presentation, we have the common folder, and inside this folder, let's create a file called the page not found. And here inside this file, we can create our own custom UI that can be rendered upon any invalid route. So let's create a basic component which contains a simple text data stating page not found, and another button which when click is going to navigate us back again to the previous page. Upon the button press event, we are going to make use of the handle navigation function which will navigate us to the previous page. Now if we save this, and here inside the generated routes, we can just pass in that particular React component, which is page not found. And this time, if I try to navigate to some invalid route, we are able to get that particular error page which you have defined. So if I click this go back button, it is going to take us to the initial landing page. So this is how you'll be able to handle error routing in React navigations. Well, with this, we have almost completed the basic concepts of React routing. But yet, there is one other concept called the lazy loading. So with this routing concept, while working with a small scale application, it seems to be quite effective. But consider if you're creating a large scale React project, and having this kinds of React navigation concept might lead to some performance issue. The reason is that here for the element property, we have directly passed the particular JXS component. By doing so, even though these pages aren't rendered in the UI screen, in the initial mounting itself, any packages or dependencies which are either used in these pages will be installed right inside the React project, even though we haven't navigated to those particular pages. And this might lead to some performance issue while working with large-scale React projects. And to address that is where comes the lazy loading feature. So to perform lazy loading, instead of directly importing this home page, settings page and the about page, we need to make use of the react.lazyload. Lazy home for the home page, which is equal to react.lazy. And this lazy is going to accept a method which in turn is going to accept the relative path. Here it is going to be the path of that particular page. Can duplicate this for the abouts and the settings page. After doing so, here inside the element property, we need to make use of the suspense component, which is react.suspense. And this suspense is going to accept a fallback, which will technically render this particular JXS component. And here inside this fallback, you can provide any JXS component. Let me provide loading. And the child for this React suspense is the lazy home, which is the lazy load of the home component. You can duplicate this same for the abouts and the settings page. And if you see that, if I navigate between home page and settings page, everything seems to be working fine. Now by doing so, we aren't directly importing that particular component, but only importing them whenever that's been mounted. And if you see, we have provided the fallback as loading, but we won't be able to visualize that changes here in the browser. So for that, let me change this to slow 3G. Now after updating the network to slow 3G, if I navigate to the settings page, you'll be able to see the particular fallback in the UI. Similarly, if I navigate to the abouts page, you see the loading text being rendered in the UI screen. So this is the basic process of how to implement lazy loading in your React routing. Well, if you take a look into the generated routes file, we see this object structure for the create browser router seems to be quite confusing, right? There are actually two ways to list down the entire path of React routing inside this generated routes file. You can either provide them as an object or you can provide them as a JXS component. This is the way of providing them as an object, where we make use of the curly braces, provide the path, element and children. Just the same way, in this case, let's try to update this same code with the help of JXS component. So let me get rid of this, and inside this create browser router, we need to make use of another function called the create routes from elements. That in turn is going to accept a list of arguments. And we can make use of the route component, and inside this route component is where we will list down all our routes. The first is going to be the base route. The property is going to be same. You can pass in the same path and it is going to accept the element, which is the dashboard page in this case for the initial routing. Apart from path and element, we have also provided the children in the object structure. But in this case, you can simply write them inside this parent route. You can create another route, pass in the attributes for path, duplicate that for abouts and the settings page. Now this structure seems to be quite easy to understand, right? It totally depends upon your choice of either defining your route as an object or as a JXS component. Well, if I refresh this, it is going to perform the same routing what we already had. If I click this abouts page, settings page and home page, it is able to correctly navigate to those corresponding pages. So this is one another way where you can go for defining your route as an object or as a JXS component. Well, this is all about the basic concepts of routing what we thought of discussing in this tutorial. Hope you find this video useful. If you do so, consider subscribing and I will see you again in the next one.